Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Linda Curtis with ChangeAustin.org, and I want to encourage people, if you can't really see the screen, to kind of move in a little bit. I'm going to just lay out what the parameters are for this evening, and before I do that, I do want to welcome some elected officials and or our illustrious state senator for 30 years, State Rep, State Senator Gonzalo Barrientos in the back. Thank you for being here. We all love Gonzalo, and Stacy Suits is effectively the constable in Precinct 3. Welcome, Stacy. You all know that Gonzalo and Stacy actually provided a lot of leadership for 10-1. Are there any other elected officials here? There is a Board of Trustees member of, yes sir, say your name again. Jeffrey Richard. ACC Board of Trustees, great to have you. Okay, so we're providing this forum tonight before the City Council deliberates next Tuesday in the work session, and is likely going to do so in executive session, so that we will not see or hear what they're discussing on the city manager's performance. Though the council can vote, and of course this must be done in public, they can do it next Tuesday. We don't know if that's going to take place or not, the actual vote. There are 3 other city management people who are being evaluated and were today. Does anybody know the outcome? Did anybody hear anything? Okay. This is the city clerk, auditor, and chief municipal judge. These are non-controversial performance reviews, so we are not weighing in on that. We definitely are weighing in on the city manager's performance, which is what this hearing is about. Many residents do not know how the city manager determines much of what goes on in Austin. Though he works for the city council, he or she, it's currently he, Marcotte, is the chief executive officer of Austin. So first, Fred Lewis is going to talk briefly for just a few minutes about the city manager's role and where Manage Austin better sees the management problems. Then Brian Rogers of Change Austin is going to give you a primer on the results as he sees it of our city management since Marcotte took the helm in January of 2008. Then we're going to open up for you to come up and give 3 minutes on whatever you want to say related to these topics. And I want to caution everybody, we are talking about the city manager's performance, and we want to do this in a collegial and friendly and principled way. So no personal attacks, and that's the only thing that we request of you, and try to stay on the topic of the manager's performance. We are taping this event, so remember, you're on camera. So we will be putting this up on YouTube very quickly, and then getting it to the City Council along with the performance review sheets that we've asked you to use tonight before you leave. Hopefully you'll get enough information tonight, and you have information on your own since you live here and you experience the problems every day. The problems and the good things about Austin. So please do fill that out before you leave, and just hand it in to Liz over there at the desk. And let me just ask if everybody has signed in. We're not forcing you to sign in, but we'd like to be able to stay in touch with you. So please do sign in if you're willing to do so, and do take some information. And if you want to speak, fill out a card. And if you're not sure and you get moved to do so, you can fill one out and give it to me. We're going to stick to 3 minutes. We will not get the hook out, but if you force me to, I will. So try to keep it brief. Okay, Fred Lewis.
Hello, I'm Fred Lewis. Can you hear me? Thank you very much for coming out tonight. This is a very important topic. For those of you who don't know me, I've been an attorney for 30 years, and I was the counsel and member of the executive committee of 10-1. And I'm the organizer behind the site manageaustinbetter.com. Basically, I want to talk a little bit about the city manager's role, and then I wanted to talk about why I came to the conclusion that we needed to have new city management, and why I thought that we had systemic management problems in Austin. Basically, Austin, a lot of people don't know this, has a city manager form of government. A lot of cities like Chicago and New York have a strong mayor form of government or a strong council form of government. We have a city manager form of government. And in that government, the mayor and the council serve as the legislative branch. They set policy. Think of them as a corporate board, okay? The city manager is the CEO. He is the head of the executive branch who administers and implements the policy of the council. So all of the city employees, except the ones that Linda mentioned, work under the city manager and report to the city manager. The city manager is hired in turn by the council, and that's what their evaluation is going to be about this Tuesday. The city manager's responsibilities are immense. The city budget is $3.5 billion. There are 12,000 employees. There are 150 executives, 600 managers, 1,200 supervisors, and the rest of the 10,000 regular employees. The city manager is responsible for public works, finance and budgeting, planning, economic development, health and human services, Austin Energy, public safety. In other words, it's a very big job. And what happened with me is my views about why we need to change city management were crystallized last February when the Zucker report was released. Paul Zucker is a renowned planning consultant that the city of Austin paid a lot of money to come in and evaluate how our planning department and permitting departments were functioning. And he concluded, and I'm going to give you some examples, but basically he concluded that Austin had the nation's worst managed planning and permitting department in the nation. And that's somebody who's been doing this 30 or 40 years. And if you want to, you can go to the Manage Austin Better website, and we have 12 pages of excerpts of the juicy parts of the report, and you don't have to read all 784 pages. But I wanted to give you an idea of how devastating this management report was. I've read a lot of management reports. Usually they sort of sugarcoat it, but this didn't sugarcoat anything. And this is a guy paid by the city of Austin, and he didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said about the scores that he got on customer surveys, taxpayers, stakeholders. Stakeholder surveys we conducted for this study resulted in some of the most negative scores and responses we have seen in our many national studies. That was the public's response about the planning department. The employee surveys were no better. Quote, "These are the worst scores we've ever recorded in our various studies. Employees are very unhappy about the direction and leadership of the department." End quote. Then the performance measures. "These are some of the worst results we've seen in our numerous studies of other cities. The numbers are so bad that the planning department should be embarrassed." That's somebody they paid. My point is simply that when you read a report like that, when the city, one of its main functions is planning, development, permitting, and those are the sort of scores you get, you start wondering if the city can do better. I want to give you just a flavor, not just the scores, of the types of things they found, because I think it's telling. He said this, during management meetings, quote, "There are no agendas used for the meetings. There's no overall discussion of the mission, strategy, or management training." He talked about neighborhood plans, which are crucial. "There appears to be no management plan or system in place for executing future neighborhood and small area plans," end quote. And then this is the same sort of things. "The majority of staff," quote, "interviewed indicated they are no longer clear about the division of the department's mission, vision, or strategy. Management does not function as a cohesive, dependable management team." That is a pretty devastating report. And the sad thing is, right now, that planning department is overseeing the revisions of your land development code, which will affect every one of your property rights. And yet, according to Mr. Zucker, it is one of the most poorly managed departments in the entire United States. I did want to say one other thing about the evaluation. I did want to thank Mayor Adler. The city, which I find amazing, has never really used performance metrics in evaluating the city manager. And with Mike Abear's help, who's here and he can talk about it, Mayor Adler did add metrics into the performance evaluation of Mr. Ott this year. Although I should tell you that the one section that Mr. Abear put in from Minnesota about performance metrics as to management skills was taken out of the metrics somewhere in the bureaucracy. But in short, we have a city manager form of government. Everything depends upon, in many ways, the functioning of the city manager. And personally, I think we can do better.
You ready?
Yeah.
We can't get Brian to stand still, so he's going to be hopping around. We can't get him on video. This is what we go through every time. Anyway, have fun.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Brian Rogers. I'm a real estate developer and an investor. I'm a citizen activist, and I've been fighting on city issues at least for the last 8 years, which is the same tenure as City Manager Mark Ott. So I am intimately aware of a lot of the failings and the costs that have arisen because of his management and stuff. So I'm calling him gentrifier in chief because there's really not a dime's worth of difference between the Chamber of Commerce and his growth agenda. As you know, this was in the paper today. We've exceeded 2 million in population. The Chamber of Commerce, the home builders, the RECA, Downtown Austin Alliance, and the City of Austin. The City of Austin is growth promotion is its essence. What it does is it tries to get as many people that can move here as fast as possible. It helps the city manager's reputation. I've got the biggest, city here. I'm growing fast. The chamber people, they all make a lot of money. Show me the money. All right, 1.5 million people move here in the next 25 years. They're going to need 590,000 new housing units. That's about $88 billion worth of real estate. So if you wonder what drives this economy, I tell people Austin is really just one giant real estate play. You lure companies in here, they bring their employees, and we sell them houses and stuff. I'm surprised that the city council members aren't issued like Century 21 jackets, because it's really, that is kind of what everybody's in the house sales business now at the city. This was a particular telling. Angelos Angelou is one of our big economists who does all the forecasting. He let the cat out of the bag last summer. He says, we've all known that in the future it's going to be very expensive to live here with all the growth and high-tech jobs we're attracting from other states. So what he's telling you is we've all known that this city is the rents are going to go up, the costs are going to go up because of who we're attracting here, because they make a lot of money that the newcomers do. So this game it was no coincidence. This has been a step-by-step program from the chamber and the city. So economic development, the city manager is in charge of all the money that goes out for attraction. And their budget's $15 million a year. The actual budget's more like 50. They do some small business. None of this money is spent bringing companies that hire locally. I mean, if they were bringing these companies here and said, well, you have to hire 90% of your employees here locally, I wouldn't have a problem. But the deal is, this is about net in-migration so we can sell them houses and more real estate. Opportunity Austin is one of the branches of the Chamber of Commerce. Their main reason for being is to attract people. They tell you it's jobs. We're really serious about jobs. And there's 250 members. You see here, I have them all listed. And the one thing that they have in common is that they're all in the real estate business. All the people who are so concerned about jobs are really just donating money to recruit companies to move here because they're surveyors, sand and gravel companies, real estate attorneys, developers, land speculators. That's why Austin is growing as fast as it has. This was money spent, is the city's money given to the chamber for a New York public relations firm to put Austin on the #1 lists. See, it says in March, worked with Forbes on rankings. So they're spending our tax money in order to induce people to move here by putting us on these number one lists. You thought maybe we rose to these list tops organically, but we didn't. This is what is causing the gentrification and the swamping of the Austin current residents. The median household income for the existing residents is $54,000, but for the last 4 years, the newcomers make $111,000 median. What that means is when they come to town, they go, I like that neighborhood, I can outbid you. I can pay more for rents. And so the developers are going, hey, we can sell them more stuff, we can do tear downs, we can sell them houses for $400,000, $500,000, $6,000 because they can afford it. And it's remaking our city completely. Now, a few years ago, I was invited in to the city to help discuss the economic development policy. And I was there with Professor Michael Oden, a couple other people, but it was also full of chamber types. And I suggested, I said, why don't we have a local hiring policy as a part of this revamp of economic development? And Dave Porter with the chamber looked at me and he said, Brian, I have members with houses to sell. So what he's telling you is we don't want this local hiring. Our economic development policy is bringing people here so the chamber can sell them houses. Now this is the Mark Ott's staff, that's part of the economic development, it's Mark Ott's push. Even when Mr. Oden and I went down and tried to get third-party approval of analysis of these real estate economic development deals. So when Hanger Orthopedics or Apple comes, don't let Mark Ott's staff analyze whether they're good or not. Let's have a third party, but they wouldn't even let that happen. In other words, any attempt to stop some of this rampant growth was met with a monolithic resistance. One good example is our beautiful City of Austin power plant at Seaholm. Now, it was supposed to be a